Joining me now is Chuck Todd, moderator of Meet the Press. So NBC has a poll debuting on Meet the Press, and we have a poll coming out this week. Is there a trend that we are expecting to see with this new poll on Latino voters, and how the importance of getting that Latino vote has grown, including right here in Georgia, Chuck?
Well, look, we were looking at it to see, obviously Republicans believe they were making some inroads with Latino voters, and that was one reason to look to see how decisive will this vote be. Look, it's still, Latinos overall still lean Democratic, more so than the overall electorate that our poll found. But what we're seeing is that the Latino electorate shifts based almost more on geography than identity. So, for instance, urban Latinos are the most Democratic, but those that live in rural America, rural Latinos, particularly those in South Texas, pretty evenly split between the two parties. So the point is, and while this is an electorate that still leans Democratic, you see that the same trend lines that sort of the electorate overall that we see, where the more urban you are, the more Democratic you vote, the more rural you are, the more Republican you vote. We see those same trend lines, not as in as great of numbers, but you see those same trend lines there. And one other interesting aspect to our poll that we discovered is that among Latinos that identify as Republicans, you're more likely to be a Trump supporter if you're a Latino Republican than if you're a Republican overall. Latino Republicans were more Trump-friendly than Republicans were overall in our last poll, which is interesting. So again, the Latino vote leans more Democratic than the electorate overall, but those Latino Republicans are more Trumpy than Republicans overall.
Okay, I think I would say that is a surprising fact that came out of that right there, Chuck. So without downplaying or diverting from, what really matters right now in the aftermath of Hurricane Ian, you was talking about the lives lost and the destruction, but sometimes do we see like natural disasters play out politically? Do you think any elected official has the answer to figuring out just how to better mitigate against the next big storm?
I think that's going to be the question, is whether this gets politicized, or there's sort of a general agreement here that, look, this extreme weather isn't going away. And, if you want to pick on Florida, you can, but be careful doing that, because all 50 states are seeing, are making asks of FEMA in the last 5 years that they had not made in 10 years previous. So this is going to be a challenge. So when we put this money in for recovery, how do you rebuild? I'll give you just one example: mobile manufactured housing. The best way to describe that, if you've ever been on the interstate and you've been behind a wide load, one of those houses that's sort of over on the tractor trailer, should those homes be allowed in the state of Florida, right? Is that really a safe home to even build, no matter where you put it in the state? I think those are some of the tough questions that lawmakers and politicians need to be having right now.
Great point, Chuck. It's interesting. One of the interviews I remember from NBC was about that, a woman saying that was the type of community that she lived in there in Florida. So thank you for that insight. And thank you for joining us. Meet the Press airs at 10, right after 11 Alive Weekend Morning News. Have a good one.